Hello. Hello, Mr. Osama.
Hello.
So our next session will be presented by Mr. Osama Hijji to talk about cyber deterrence beyond cybersecurity. Over to you, Mr. Osama.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Arab MTech, for giving me this opportunity. I hope all our audience are having a good day. Let me first introduce myself. I am Osama Hijji, or Hijji in literary Arabic. I'm from Egypt. I work for IP Protocol. I'm the technical director of this system integrator, and I am as well the Group Chief Information Security Officer for GIA Group. I've been working for the last 20 years in cybersecurity, and today I want to discuss with you a different approach for cybersecurity, which is cyber deterrence. My presentation will be in specific about how we can implement the cyber deterrence concept through security operation centers. I will come to this point later on while moving forward in the presentation. Let's delve into the subject directly without further delays. Cyber deterrence is one of the most studied topics in cybersecurity because, and until today, to be perfectly honest with you, there are people who, cybersecurity governance professionals who doesn't believe there is such a thing as cyber deterrence. I'm on the opposite side. I'm the opposition, and I believe that definitely cyber deterrence exists, and I will give some example during this presentation on actual cyber deterrence examples. But in spite of the fact it is one of the most studied topics in cybersecurity, it remains one of the least understood cybersecurity phenomena, how it happens, why it happens, and we are going to shed some light during this presentation on cyber deterrence. But first, what we really need to understand is what does the word deterrence alone mean first, before delving into cyber deterrence. Deterrence, in a very short statement, is ensuring preventing aggression. That's what really deterrence means. We want to prevent aggression from happening. How we do that, according to deterrence, by convincing our adversaries that the risk of the actions they are going to take outweighs the benefit. So if you're going to attack me, the risk of attacking me is outweighing the benefit. There is one very well-known example of deterrence used by, let's say, 6 or 7 countries around this planet. It's this one. If you are seeing it enough, it's a nuclear explosion. Nuclear weapons, according to the militaries of United States, Russia, China, India, France, United Kingdom, is not really a weapon they are intending to use. It's a weapon they are intending their adversaries, because they are multiple, to know that they have, just to know that they have. It's a weapon that can erase an entire country from the surface of Earth in few seconds. So the fact you know that your opponent, the country you are going to attack, have such a weapon will make you think twice, and by saying twice, I'm really underestimating the power of nuclear bombs. It probably would be thinking 20 times before attacking a country that is equipped with nuclear weapons. This is the very purpose of deterrence. The purpose of deterrence is to prevent your opponents from attacking you. It convinces them to not think of it at all, because it's a really bad idea. Whatever the benefit you are going to gain from this action definitely is outweighed by the risks. In cyber deterrence, the definition is still valid. However, the definition is a bit different. In cyber deterrence, our goal is to prevent cybersecurity incidents. And please notice the phrasing, the wording of this sentence. cyber deterrence is focused on preventing security incidents. To you, if you are a chief information security officer, the value of cyber deterrence, the real value of cyber deterrence, that you will see a decrease in the number of security incidents, of the attacks happening on your enterprise. If you are a state official in charge of cybersecurity, it's the same result. You will see a decrease in the number of attacks happening over the state. How do we do that? How do we do the cyber deterrence? The same way, we need to convince the potential threat actor that the risks of a cyber attack outweigh the benefits. So if you are going to perform a cyber attack on my enterprise or my country, you need to know as an attacker that you are taking too much risks for zero or very little benefits. Okay, let's talk more about the difference between cyber deterrence and cyber security, because in the coming period, we really need to think more cyber deterrence than cyber security. The point I'm trying to make clear here, it's not enough in 2020, while you are having a cyber strategy, to be focused just on defending your organization or defending the country. If you are, if you are strategizing for the government, it's really important to deter actually whoever trying to attack you. So one major difference between cyber deterrence and cyber security, that in cyber deterrence you are focused on preventing incidents. In cyber security, you are actually focused on managing incidents. So in cyber security, you are literally a punching bag, like the one the boxers trains on. They keep hitting the punching bag all the time. The punching bag can do anything other than be sturdy enough, defend itself, but the attacks will keep happening because the boxer is still there. It is still hitting the bag, and it will never stop hitting the bag as long as it is there. He exists. In cyber deterrence, no, you're not a punching bag. We will discuss later on why, and at some point, whatever cyber deterrence measures and controls you take will actually decrease the number of punches you are receiving. In cybersecurity, we are focused on preventing the attack harm. Let me say something very clearly. In cybersecurity, we are focused on the attack, how to defend ourselves against an attack. In cyber deterrence, we are focused on the attacker, not the attack itself. How to prevent the attacker in the first place from making an attack, how to deprive him of his infrastructure, to deprive him of his tools, how to lure him actually and deceive him into attacking things that are not real, to waste his effort and waste his time. In cyber deterrence, mainly what we are fighting is not the attack itself. It's the attacker, the person behind the attack. The boxer giving the punching bag punches. We are not interested act or harm. In cyber deterrence, we are focused more on the attacker himself and how to prevent him or her from attacking us. In cybersecurity, we are very, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think the presentation, it's not there. There was like a few seconds that your voice and your screen disconnected.
Oh.
We can see you, but not the presentation.
Yes, I will try to share it again. I'm sorry, it has been lost. Can you see it now?
Okay, not yet.
You're able to see it?
No, not yet, but I think maybe it's loading on.
Okay.
See the presentation.
One moment. Oh yes, I can see it here.
Let me to refresh. There is nothing on the screen, actually. Hold on, let me refresh, maybe. Yes, sorry. I really apologize, Mr. Osama.
No problem. Is it me? It's me who disconnected.
Maybe it's maybe from my side. Sorry.
So you can see the screen now.
I can see the screen now. Yes.
Okay, so I'll continue forward. So essentially, back again to the comparison between cybersecurity and cyber deterrence and how they are different. I mentioned that in cybersecurity we are focused on the attack. In cyber deterrence we are focused on the attacker himself. Cybersecurity is a reactive approach. We are all the time being attacked, and we are consequently reacting to the attacks, while in cyber deterrence it's a proactive approach. We are trying to prevent the attacks or the incidents, so we don't need to manage them or to respond to them. In cybersecurity as well, we are focused on defending our own infrastructure. This is very important. We are spending money, we are investing in security controls that defend the infrastructure of the state or of the enterprise. In cyber deterrence, we are not focused on this at all. We are actually focused on funding the attacker infrastructure. So if he is using a botnet, if there is a specific type of malware he is using, if there are certain domains, certain IPs he is using, we are focused on funding all of this, taking it down, out of preventing the attacker from actually using these tools to attack our own institutions, whether they are state, whether they are public or private sector. One further point, cybersecurity is about defensive and detective cyber technologies. So they are really about detection and response, while in cyber deterrence, we are more focused on offensive technologies and deceptive technologies as well. Offensive technologies are mostly used by government institutions. I'm not saying ministries or something like that. I mean, if you have a cybersecurity body for the state, like the NSA in the United States, for example, the National Security Agency, or the GCHQ in Britain. These kind of institutions that are owned by the state can use the kind of offensive tools we will discuss in this presentation. However, for enterprises, they cannot use really offensive security tools. I'm not talking here about vulnerabilities and exploitation tools. I'm talking more about traffic generation tools and tools that can help attacking an opponent over a network. They will be rather focused on deceptive technologies like honeypots, and we will talk about this later on forward. One last thing about cybersecurity and cyber deterrence. Cybersecurity, from a financial investment point of view, doesn't really, require lots of investment. It's a low investment approach to security. I'm not saying here compared to any CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, when he goes and talk to the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, the automatic reaction of the CEO that he is requesting too much. I'm not comparing the investment here with the CEO perspective. I'm comparing it with the cyber deterrence perspective. Cyber deterrence require more financial investment, actually. However, cybersecurity is low investment, but causes you high incident rates as well. You will be in the punching bag mode. You are receiving attacks and incidents all the time, while in the cyber deterrence, the number of incidents, the number of attacks you will be incurring will be actually decreased. How cyber deterrence, generally speaking, is done? I divided this slide into two different categories: how cyber deterrence is performed on state level and how it's performed on the enterprise level. On the state level, this is really important because many Arab countries doesn't have this still now. A state need to establish a cybersecurity body, a cybersecurity institution that is in charge of the cyber defense, offense, and intelligence of the entire country. This can be established as well on a regional level, in the sense, Arab countries, for example, all of them together, they can establish an Arab cybersecurity body. Europe did something similar. Europe was considering to have a cybersecurity institution to be in charge of its cyber offense, cyber defense, and cyber intelligence. And then at some point they decided, no, we are not going to do for each of us his own local institution. Some countries does have their own local institutions, but most of the European countries decided to invest in NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is an already existing institution. It's a military institution, and there is a point in that. And they decided that their cybersecurity collective defense institution will be part of the NATO. African countries as well can decide through the African Union. That's why you have the African Union flag and the League of Arab States flag here on the side, because a single country or the GCC countries together or the North African countries together might decide actually under the umbrella of one of the existing regional organization to build a cyber capability, an institution with a cyber capability of offense, defense, and intelligence. On the enterprise level, this is, I believe, the most interesting part, because I believe most of the attendees are coming from an enterprise background. What you really need to establish is a security operations center. However, you need to change the perception that the security operations center is a detection and response mechanism. In most of the Arab world right now, as we speak, the SOC is still just a detection mechanism. It's a monitoring tool. It detects security offenses, but it's not really responding. The response falls usually to the IT department. In the GCC countries in particular, where I would say they are in a more advanced stage, response has been implemented. Cyber deterrence wants to take you beyond the detection and response into the deception and intelligence phase. So in order to implement cyber deterrence on enterprise level, what we really need to add to our security operations center is the threat intelligence capability. If it's not there yet, and I know many in many enterprises now, the detection goes hand in hand with intelligence, but the deception is not there, and that's the real point we need to work on adding. I just want to give you an example on how actually cyber deterrence happens, and why some countries chose, like Europe, chose to make the cyber capability part of the NATO organization. In December 2019, the so-called Israeli Defense Forces discovered that Hamas resistance movement in Palestine are actually targeting their soldiers with very elaborate phishing attacks. The attack was actually, it's a cyber attack. It's not a military attack or anything like that. And it was very successful in obtaining critical information from those soldiers that helps Hamas resistance activities. Israel decided that it will not respond in a cyber manner to this attack. They actually sent their jet fighters to bomb the headquarters of Hamas cyber arm. Hamas actually has a very capable cyber arm, and needless to mention that Israel as well has a very capable cyber defense ability. So the fact they succeeded into penetrating and actually conducting a successful operation in spite of the many security controls and defenses employed by the IDF shows you how capable this cyber arm of Hamas is. The response was actually a military response. In March 2020, NATO countries announced that they give themselves the right to respond to a cyber attack in a military manner. So if you decide to attack a European or a North Atlantic Treaty country with a cyber attack that disrupts their national information infrastructure, not the whole NATO, one of the NATO's country. If an attacker does such a thing, NATO gives itself the right to go and bomb the crap out of you. They will attack you in a military manner. They will not just stop at the cyberspace limits. So one of the ways you implement cyber deterrence actually is to have an offensive capability. You show clearly to your opponents in the cyberspace that you are able to attack them, to attack those threat actors. That's on the state level. On enterprise level, of course, you are not going to attack your opponents. That's illegal, literally in all the world. And it's not the right approach either. But what you can do is to establish a deceptive capability, a deception capability. And we will discuss this later on more in details in the future slides. And I will explain why this deceptive capability will deter actually your opponents. One important thing as well about cyber deterrence in order to implement it is to have a strong legal arm. For states, for countries, you need to have a DCA, a Data Criminal Act. You need to have laws that criminalize cybercrime. Egypt in 2020 finally approved its own Data Criminal Act. Most of the Gulf countries are ahead in this. They have already their Data Criminal Acts. The rest of the Arab world countries need to have a Data Criminal Act. Of course, you need to have both a Data Protection Act and a Data Criminal Act. And usually, we should be starting with a Data Protection Act. On enterprise level as well, all enterprises need their cybersecurity departments to work hand in hand with their legal departments. Whenever we come under attack, we must report this to the legal. The legal must report it to the state authorities. Because if you don't do this and you remain always in the defender mode, the attacker that actually attacked you will keep attacking you because nothing is happening to him. When things are taken to the legal level, at least some legal actions are taken. You're at least bothering him or her. You're annoying them. So at least they will think a little bit before taking an action against you. It's very important to understand here that law, the system of justice in the state has to be very swift and quick in order for cyber deterrence to happen. What do I mean by saying this? If an attacker to be detected, it will take 1 year to detect him that he did an attack, and then another year for prosecuting him, and then 2-3 years to get a verdict against him. If punishing someone for cybercrime takes more than a year, this means for cyber criminals that they live in gangster's paradise. They can do anything they want and they will be unpunished. Because after a year, everything is lost. The evidence is lost. The hacker himself may have moved to another platform, erased his tracks. You need really to be very, very swift and rapid and quick for order to have cyber deterrence. One good example on that is what United States and Britain did with the famous Twitter hack that happened on the 17th of July. Exactly 2 weeks later, 14 days exactly, all the perpetrators in this hack were arrested in United States and United Kingdom. They were a bunch of kids, most of them, and FBI and NCA, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and National Crime Agency coordinated together to arrest all of them because one of them was in, two of them were in UK, I believe, and one of them was in US. But they were all arrested and charges were pushed against them. All this happened in just 14 days. When you check with companies like FireEye, who are one of the major advanced threat protection solution providers in the market, they will tell you that for an enterprise to discover that they came under attack, regardless of the impact of that attack, I mean, the impact might reveal to the enterprise that they have been attacked. If the impact is encrypting all their files or deleting all of them, but if the impact is leaking the files, maybe they won't discover. And it takes them in average 260 days to discover in enterprises that they have been attacked. If just detecting an attack take almost 2/3 of a year, imagine how much time it will take you as well to prosecute those guys legally in your country. This literally means to you that the attackers, the hackers, anyone who wants to inflict harm to your institution, they are encouraged by the enterprise inability to detect and slowness in responding. So you're basically sending a message out there to everyone: if you are slow and you don't have the ability to detect, please hack me. For God's sake, please come and attack me and delete my files and leak my data. For security to be really deterrent, it has to be really fast. That's what I'm saying here. And finally, we need to include cyber deterrence in our strategy, whether we are talking on enterprise level or on state level. On state level, for example, just to give you an example on this, if there is a country where lots of attacks are originating from on our country, we can't keep the same trade agreements with this country. I mean, we have to punish them somehow to do their due diligence on their side to prevent whoever abusing our infrastructure from doing that. So let's say, for example, there are people, this is a completely dummy example. I'm in Libya, and in Libya there are hackers from Egypt attacking Libya. One of the things Libya need to do in its foreign affairs relationship with Egypt is to take some steps to encourage Egypt to stop those hackers. That's on state level, and I mean, this is the kind of things you need to consider in cyber deterrence, because the problem with cybersecurity, generally speaking, and most of the CISOs went through this, is the fact that the attackers, in most of the cases, they are out of the legal jurisdiction of the CISOs. They are not in the same country. If you go complain to the police, they are under the legal jurisdiction of the police of another country. There is nothing we can do. So to take this to the state level, we need to consider. I mean, I'm not saying that China is attacking us, but there are hackers in China attacking us. We need to consider this in our relation with China. We need to tell them that if they don't take any steps with those people, this will impact the relationship. On enterprise level, we need as well to make sure that our third parties, whether they are vendors or outsourcing subcontractors, and this is really important, are as well penalized for not delivering or their security commitments, or for not being secure. And this needs to happen very swiftly and quickly, because if you give again a big time window for these things to happen, that's actually that encourages cyber incidents and mistakes. Moving forward, what kind of technology are used? Technologies, I will talk about right now. What do we need? What do you need to have in a security operations center, whether in the state level or enterprise level, in order to have cyber deterrence? So the first point is you need traffic generators. That's mostly on state level. And why you need traffic generators? To be able to launch volumetric distributed denial of service attacks, or sorry, not distributed denial of service attacks directly, volumetric denial of service attacks. You will need traffic generators for this. There are many, and there are open source traffic generators, and there are technology vendors who provide such traffic generators. Of course, they don't provide it for the purpose of attacking your opponents. They actually provide it for the purpose of stress testing your network infrastructure. On enterprise level, and this is really important, you need to consider network and endpoint honeypots. And honeypots are actually a deception technology. And I said before, I will explain how deception has a security value for an enterprise. It actually has two security values for an enterprise. Basically, a honeypot is a device that masquerades as a real server of your servers. It looks exactly like, if your servers are Windows 2012, it has a Windows 2012. If your servers contain databases that contain data, it will contain a database that contain fake data that look very similar to your real data. And the server will contain lots of vulnerabilities that are unpatched and stuff like that. Why do we employ such a server in our infrastructure? This server is totally useless. We don't use it. No employee, no system in our infrastructure is really using it. This server acts just as a bait. It looks exactly like our servers. The hacker has no way to know that it's not a real one. And it looks actually more appealing than the other servers because it has lots of vulnerabilities. It's not patched. So automatically, the attacks will be directed there first. How does this help you secure your organization? Actually, by two means. The first mean is that it diverted a real attack from a real target to a fake target. You protected your real assets by directing the attacks to a fake target. That's a tactic most of the armies, actually the military, use. Probably you have seen the balloons that looks like tanks and looks like missiles, surface-to-surface missiles. And then when the enemy airplanes comes to bomb the real tanks and the real missiles, they just hit those balloons or these wooden platforms that look like the real targets. In that way, you actually exhausted your enemy. You made him use his real ammunition, make real attacks, jet sorties with fuel and pilots and airplanes on fake targets. You are actually exhausting the enemy, and in the same time protecting your real assets by diverging the attack to a fake target. The other added value, and this is the value that really deters the attacker, is that he will reveal the way he will attack you. He will reveal the infrastructure he will use to attack you, whether it's a botnet, whether it's he's coming from cloud accounts, what kind of domains he's going to use, what vulnerabilities is he going to target and try to exploit. He might even reveal his own identity himself. And he will discover at some point, and maybe he will never discover, that he revealed all this to you while attacking nothing. He gained nothing. He attacked a fake target. He burned all his cards and he gained nothing. This is the kind of things that make any attacker in the future think twice before attacking you, because the risks will outweigh the benefits. That's what we said in the very beginning. That's the very purpose of deterrence. Now I diverged you and your attack into a completely fake environment where you exposed everything about yourself, and you knew nothing, you took nothing from me. So now you have zero benefit, and you took really all the risk. That's how honeypots actually help you to implement cyber deterrence, and help you as well to implement cyber security, because it diverges the attack from the real targets. You need to have in your SOC, the SOC infrastructure, those honeypots. You need as well to have some offensive security tools like vulnerability scanners, network scanners, exploit kits. These tools are actually very famous. The top 10 tools are published in OWASP. I will not get over them for the sake of time here. Talking back again on the level of a state level, in order to implement cyber deterrence, probably you need to have the jet plane you are seeing on the right side of the slide here. That's an EF-18G. Growler. It's the name of this jet fighter is Growler. It doesn't fire missiles. It doesn't bomb anyone. It's a military airplane that has the ability to hack into networks, into wireless networks, into applications and systems, and it's used as part of the capability of a state electronic warfare. If you are a state actor, probably you might consider in your Air Force to have such a platform or any similar platform to it that can actually give you the electronic countermeasure and electronic countermeasure capability to conduct electronic warfare. Talking about what type of professionals you need in your security operations center, whether on state or on enterprise level. You need network stress testers. Those are the people acquainted with using volumetric DOS attack or traffic generation devices. You need as well penetration testers for performing intrusion if you are going to, that's mainly if you are a state you will hack whoever who is trying to hack you. So definitely you will need some professionals with intrusion and penetration testing capability. You will need botnets as well. For enterprise, you will need actually what we call threat hunters. Threat hunters usually are the ones who operate the honeypots, and they operate as well another interesting security system, the sandbox. Usually sandboxes right now are part of advanced threat protection solutions. They are completely different from honeypots. They are a simulated environment, not fake environment, and sandboxes are not used as baits. They are just used to analyze the impact of malware and see whether a software is actually benign or malicious. It's a malware. What type of processes do you need to have within your SOC as well to have cyber deterrence? Historically, of course, all security operations centers have an incident response process, but the extra thing you need to have is a threat intelligence process. Most of the security operations centers, they have only a threat intelligence platform, not a process. So if I have received a threat intelligence that I'm going to be attacked, what shall I do? What's the process? That's what you really need to have. You need to have as well a threat hunting process. It's not enough to have the threat hunting people, like the tier 3 threat hunters. It's not enough to have the threat, the deception technology and the sandboxing technology. You must have as well clear processes for threat hunting. And that's it about my organization. I'm sorry, I tried to be very quick because I know there is a limitation on time due to the change of the agenda. Linda, I leave it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Osama. I ask all attendees to direct any question. Is there any question for Mr. Osama? Okay, it seems that there is no questions.
No problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Osama. Thank you.
You're most welcome, and I'm grateful for all the activities.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.